The Kano Foundation are bucket collecting this Saturday before the Celtic and St Mirren game, so please look out for volunteers around the stadium and try and give a little if you can to help support a wonderful cause. Stop by, say hello, help fill the buckets. It would be much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today it's time to preview that massive game against St Mirren tomorrow, the final game in the Scottish Premiership before the split fixtures. And I'll save you the hyperboles, I'll serve you the superlatives. Everything's a must win, so I'm not going to just sit here and go, it's a must win game for Celtic. From now to the end of the season, we know exactly what has to be done, and that starts tomorrow. But it starts tomorrow with some injury news. Welcome back to the channel. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Be much appreciated. Drop down below, hit those buttons. I'm back from Philadelphia. If you couldn't tell, it's not a flex. It's a bad hair day, and I decided, you know what, it is a flex. But hi, it's nice to be back. I'd appreciate the support. It's been a quiet few days on the channel, of course, but that's about to change with this very thick and fast end of the season approaching. So if you want to stay up to date, if you want to hear all the opinion, you know what to do. Hit those buttons and let's get into this. So Brendan Rodgers has spoken. Last night we went live on the channel and talked about the game this weekend very briefly, and we were waiting for Brendan Rodgers to speak today and give us updates ahead of the match against St Mirren, and he's done that. And I wish he didn't do that, because the bad luck with Celtic's injuries just keep coming. It's very, very annoying, very frustrating, but we're now looking at two players who will definitely miss the game against St Mirren tomorrow, and potentially one of them who will miss more than just the game tomorrow. Brendan Rodgers has confirmed that Daizen Maeda is out with a hamstring injury. Yes, another hamstring injury. They have plagued the side this season. This was one of his quotes today in the press conference. He says, we'll see where that goes in the next week or so, and then we'll understand better what inclusion he'll have between now and the end of the season. There's a very high chance this could be a hamstring injury that keeps him out for the remainder of the season. I'm not going to beat around the bush. You know what happens when it comes to hamstring injuries. It could be anything between a couple of weeks and a couple of months. We don't know what's happening quite yet, to what extent we're going to see Daizen Maeda out for and how serious the injury is. I'm supposing we're going to have to wait until next week's press conference till we get full confirmation of that, or maybe even post-match against St Mirren on Saturday. But there's a definite that he will not be playing there at Celtic Park tomorrow on the left wing. The only positive, I suppose, is Luis Palma is coming back, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But Daizen Maeda is a huge miss. For as frustrating as he is, and for the amount of times that I've went off my head at him this season, you can't deny that he's one of the most important players on the Celtic side. You've seen that as recent as Rangers last weekend. He was giving James Tavernier it stinking on that left wing. He was running riot round him. He was putting the pressure on. For the lack of technical ability that he has, he makes up for it in everything else that he does. The running, the energy, just the sheer presence he has in the park is enough to, you know, really wind an opponent up. Not having him is going to be huge. And obviously it just thins down the depth in that left wing area. You've got to consider that part. You know, we were hoping we would back to a full strength side for now until the end of the season, having options in every position. Now you're suddenly down to basically Luis Palma being the only player available on the left wing, and as a natural left winger, which might not be necessarily a good thing for you. And also you've got to remember, Palma's just coming back from injury as well, so we're not, you know, at full strength by any means on the left-hand side of the attacking phase of play, which is very frustrating. So hopefully Daizen Maeda's injury isn't too bad. It is a tendon in his hamstring that he's injured. We did hear yesterday that he wasn't at training at Lennoxtown. We spoke about that on the channel, but not great news to say the least. And another new injury, another fresh injury for Celtic, Liam Scales. He'll be out of the tie tomorrow against St Mirren. He's suffered a knock, which will keep him out. Doesn't sound like his will be as lengthy as Daizen Maeda's potentially could be. I think this might just be a one-game miss for Liam Scales, which means obviously a huge opportunity for the likes of Mike Nawrocki or Gustav Lagerbielke, should they be picked. But he's out of the tie. Listen, it's not the end of the world, Liam Scales being out, but once again, bad luck with injuries just seems to be rolling. Liam Scales missed a 1 or 2 games not too long ago, and it seems like that's maybe crept back up on him, that injury. Hopefully he's back fit for next week and for the run in the split fixtures. But at home against St Mirren, I'm perfectly okay with the thought of Mike Nawrocki starting. If anything, I feel like Mike Nawrocki should be starting, so it's a huge opportunity for him to take. But also I do wish the best of recoveries to Liam Scales, and hopefully it's nothing serious. I don't know what's happened this season. It feels like a witch doctor's put on a curse to the Celtic squad. It just seems like it's injury after injury, and just as we seem to be getting back to full strength, we're now looking at the potential lengthy injury of Dyson Maeda. I don't want to just sit here and say like, oh, it's going to be lengthy, it's definitely lengthy, but you may as well set yourself up for the worst in these scenarios, because we've seen how it's went this season. No point in being optimistic when it comes to injuries. And yeah, just as you think you're going to have a team for the run-in that's fully fit and fully strong, you obviously get something like this that comes along and smacks you in the face. Dyson Maeda's been really good in recent weeks. I know that he's had a bit of an up and down season. He struggled with an injury earlier on in the campaign at the kind of Christmas time. He's obviously been, off the boil sometimes when we watch him on the park, but in recent weeks he's been so important to what we've been doing. Missing him is going to be a huge one. I'm fed up of hearing the words injury Celtic. It's the equivalent of hearing penalty Rangers at this point, and it's just very, very, very tedious. So please no more from here. I suppose we also did get some good news at the press conference, which we should probably go over now. As well as the injuries, Brendan Rodgers confirmed that Callum McGregor has been training for most of the week, and Lewis Palma is ready to return to action. So as I kind of touched on when talking about the Dyson Maeda injury, you would assume that Lewis Palma will come in and take his place on the left-hand side. Callum McGregor, will he be ready to start against St Mirren tomorrow afternoon? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm assuming we'll see him to some extent, like we did at Ibrox last week. I feel like Iwata maybe still has the starting place, but look, there's good news in the sense that we're seeing players also return on top of the players who have to drop out, so some good updates there. Callum McGregor will probably be phased back into the team. It's not all negative, I suppose. So in regards to tomorrow, here's the league table going into it. As we know, St Mirren haven't been on great form in the last few games. They haven't won in the last 3, 2 of those being losses. And obviously now confirmed to be a top half side, aren't they? They will be in the top half of the split. So it won't be the last time we play St Mirren this season. This is going to be a tough game, just like it always is against St Mirren. And we should be winning at Celtic Park. There's absolutely no denying that. I just hope that we build on what we've been doing, because Brendan Rodgers spoke through the weekend in the newspapers about how there's a growing confidence in the Celtic side. And I think there has been enough evidence of that. There definitely has been a growing confidence. I think we've been much better. If you take, and this is the thing, I even take the game at Tynecastle into consideration, because things didn't go our way that day. We went down to 10 men, and ultimately it was what it was. But from just kind of before that Hearts game, I feel like Celtic really kicked it up a notch. I think we looked a lot better. And despite losing at Tynecastle, which is obviously a very tough place to go, I think that we've been seeing a gradual improvement on the park and the product that we're seeing in the football that we're playing. And I think the example of that was the first half at Ibrox last week. I just wish that we managed to carry that on into the second half at Ibrox last week. But we have been getting better, and St Mirren is a team that now we need to, and I mean this with all due respect to St Mirren, we need to make an example of them. I think tomorrow, this is the final game before we find out our split fixtures, a split in which we're going to be playing Rangers, Hearts, Kilmarnock, St Mirren, and then another side who are probably going to give us a good go, somebody who's probably going to be able to stand up to the task. I mean, you look at the teams. Rangers, of course, we don't need to speak much about them. Hearts, they've beat us this season. Kilmarnock, they've beat us this season. We need a confidence going into this set of games, and I think tomorrow is the perfect opportunity to lay the foundation for what we're going to do in the split fixtures, depending on obviously who we're playing at home and away. But tomorrow we've got to use that as the kind of example to set for what our expectations are going to be heading into what's a massive opportunity to hopefully win a league title. So it's a huge game in many regards. Hopefully the knock to Dyson Maeda, for example, doesn't affect the fluidity that we've been seeing in the final third. I think there's been a lot more finding examples of fluidity in there. I think we'll be better in there in the final third. Hopefully it doesn't get knocked off with Palma coming back in. Palma needs to be this player that we've seen when he first came through the door, not the inconsistency that we've seen from him you know, a little bit into his stint at Celtic so far. I want to see that Lewis Palmer that I was raving about in the first few games, and I know he's just returning from injury, and I don't want to heap too much expectation on him, but that's just genuinely what I want to see. So yeah, it's a game that we should be winning. It's just simple as that. Celtic Park, we shouldn't be dropping points. I don't care if it's Rangers or Livingston, we shouldn't be dropping points at Celtic Park, and I fully expect the team to get the job done tomorrow. This is the team that I'm going for in my predictions. As you can see, I've got Palma and Nawrocki coming in for both Scales and Maida respectively. But the other big change that I've got from my predictions last week is I've got Iwata in there starting, which probably means Rodgers is going to start McGregor this week, because that's usually how things pan out. But I'm giving Iwata the starting place in my predictions. I just feel it's the wise thing to do. I said yesterday in my live stream that McGregor is somebody who, if we're 2 or 3-0 up at Celtic Park tomorrow, bring him on by all means. But I think when you've got to win these games and you've got to, you know, make a statement, go with the players that are fit. And Iwata's fit and McGregor isn't quite there yet. Plus, Iwata's been brilliant in recent weeks, so why not play him, you know? So my team remains basically unchanged, apart from the forced injury changes from Ibrox last week, because obviously Iwata did start at Ibrox. And aside from that, I feel like everything's got to really stay the same. There's not big changes that I think should be made. I know Adamida came on last week and scored at Ibrox, and he could maybe warrant a start for that. But listen, he does his job well coming off the bench and adding to something different when he does. So yeah, that's the team I'm going with. I think it's a pretty straightforward one for this week. I'm not going to even bother with score predictions. I don't even see the point. What is the point in score predictions, really? So I'm leaving it out. But listen, we should be winning. If we don't, then, you know, this is the realistic, and I've not spoke about this in the video. I've not even bothered looking over the thought of not winning the game. We don't win tomorrow, and, you know, any game we don't win now from the end of the season will feel like handing the title to Rangers. It's as simple as that, and that is the motivation for this Celtic side. So that does it in regards to the game tomorrow. Only one other story to look over today before we end off the video, and that's the fact that Celtic and Scottish football in general will lose their automatic Champions League spot from the 2025-26 campaign onwards. Here with the headlines in the Daily Record. It's gone. It's gone forever. Celtic see automatic Champions League spot disappear. Not forever. We can work our way back to it, but the coefficient has dropped. Scotland have dropped outside the top 10 after Victoria Pleasant got a draw with Fiorentina last night in the Conference League. Devastating. Back to qualifiers then from 2025 onwards. We'll still be automatically qualifying for it next year should we win the league this season, but from the 25-26 campaign onwards, qualifiers will return. You might be wondering why in the headline it says a back door remains open for Rangers. Well, that's because if things stay the way they are, which most likely they will by 2025, if Rangers were to win the league, they would still automatically qualify in 2025-26 because of their standings in the coefficient. They're much higher than Celtic, of course, due to their impressive performances in Europe in recent years. Celtic not being able to match that, so we've fallen behind. And we will need to play qualifiers when we win the league. I'm saying when we win the league, if we win the league, in 2025, yes. So, it's all a bit of a headache. I know it always is with the coefficient, but listen, this is something we'll talk about in 2025. For now, I'm focused on winning the league this year, and the Champions League group stage of 2025-26 is well in the back of my mind, trust me. Right then, that does it for today. If you've enjoyed, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments in regards to the game tomorrow and all that jazz. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll be here for the post-match reaction tomorrow night. Cheerio.